That's the complete opposite of what we're looking for. So that boiler room, robo-dial, please can I go for a wee? No, that's bad telemarketing. No one likes that.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast.
Another Byte.
Hi, I'm Sophie Law and welcome to Another Byte. This is the YouTube show for MSPs who want to improve their marketing and grow their business. This week, we're looking back on a golden episode of Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast, episode 136 this week, and where we were talking about, well, a lot of stuff, but phone calls. I know you don't like to call it telemarketing, Paul, but you took me right back to a harrowing period of my student days where I decided it would be a good idea to earn money with a job telemarketing magazine subscriptions to France and Germany in French and German. It was not a fun 2 months and I quit. You were saying a phone person is what you prefer to a telemarketer because there's a subtle difference but an important one.
There is. So your magazine selling career of 2 months, was that a bit like Wolf of Wall Street, where there was sort of 200 of you in a room
Yes.
and you had to just pick up the phone? Okay.
Sadly, there was no Leonardo DiCaprio. I would have stayed, to be honest with you.
That's the complete opposite of what we're looking for. So that boiler room, robo-dial, dial 1,000 people. Please, can I go for a wee? No, that's we don't want that. That's bad telemarketing. No one likes that. No one likes receiving those calls. No one likes making those calls. And they just do it to sell crappy magazine subscriptions or whatever they're selling. What we're looking at is replacing you, the owner, on the phone so that you don't have to waste your time making outbound calls. Last week on Another Byte, we talked about the concept of a lot of marketing being luck and timing, because people it takes so long for someone to pick an MSP, and they might stick with their incumbent for 5 years. So, every MSP knows the sales cycle is very long, and you've just got to wait for that right moment because people only buy when they're ready to buy. So your phone person is making quality outbound phone calls to every lead you've got, every prospect, everyone you're connected to on LinkedIn, everyone on your email list, everyone you've ever met at networking, and they're making it on your behalf. And essentially, they are spending their time to save your time. So they might have to make 10, 20, 30 hours worth of calls to finally pin down someone who is ready, willing, and able to have a conversation, will book that conversation into their calendar, and will actually turn up. Because the outcome of your phone person is a 15-minute video call with you, the decision maker. So it's much better to pay someone else for 20, 30 hours of their time so that you don't have to do it. So essentially, your phone person is just delving through. If you've got 1,000 leads, 1,000 prospects, they're in there, sleeves rolled up, delving into the pool for you, trying to find the one that's most likely to actually turn into business. And that's the true purpose of your phone person.
And in speaking about who might be that phone person, I loved what you were saying about the bonuses of employing parents. Let's be honest, mostly mums still at the moment, people looking to get back into the workforce. Truly efficient humans who have to be out of there at 3 o'clock to go and be mum or be dad. And that can be a really good use of a few hours of time.
Yes. So virtually everyone on my team right now, and we have lots of people, most of whom work part-time hours. So I can never quite remember how many people we've actually got because there's no one that's sort of 100% full-time. But virtually all of them, in fact, everyone except one person is a back-to-work parent, including yourself, Sophie. You're a back-to-work parent, and as am I. And I discovered a number of years ago that back-to-work parents, so you can hire really good people with great attitudes, great skill sets, who will work around, they've got the more important thing of children and stuff, but they will do incredibly good work around that. And I've never, ever regretted hiring any back-to-work parent. I think the phone role, it is a more female role than it is a male role. And I say that because most of the most engaging people I've met have been female. And I think, the whole point of this role is to find a warm person to sit and engage with people over the phone, which is a really difficult thing to do. So, if you can find a back-to-work dad that can do that, great. But gut feel is nine out of 10 people in that role would be a back-to-work mum. You'd be good at it, actually, Sophie. if the presenting career ever goes off, if someone tunes into next week's show and you're not here, then we've replaced you with someone better. Then that's a good backup option.
Let me tell you, if you called up Ant Marketing, who I did the magazine selling for in the 90s, they'd probably disagree with you. But anyway, let's move on to other things from this week's podcast. We're not going to delve into your energy levels at 20 versus 45, because frankly, that made me feel a little bit nauseous. But you were talking about finite resources that you have, the most important of which is time, and tips on, how to, you were saying, I think about Elon Musk, you and Elon Musk both have the same amount of time. It's how you maximize it and what you do with it and prioritizing things.
Yeah, exactly. So Elon Musk undoubtedly works more hours than you and me combined, because I hate the word workaholic, but he clearly enjoys work more than anything else in his life. And he's achieved an enormous amount, but he still needs to sleep and go to the toilet and have a shower and do all the other things that people have to do. And he does it with exactly the same number of hours as us. Richard Branson is another example. Richard Branson is sitting on his own private island, which he bought with his own money, and he's done some incredible things, but he still has the same 24 hours that we do. It's just he invests more of his into playing tennis with Posh Spice and other people, whoever he plays tennis with these days.
Vintage throwback there.
I know. I just thought I'd throw that one in.
Go by Victoria Beckham these days. That is her brand.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of it is what do you do with your time? I think I said this on the podcast that I track my time still. So I used to use something called Timula, which is a physical dice timer, and I've just gone over to something called Clockify, and I simply track: am I working in the business or am I working on the business? So this is working on the business, because we're creating content here, which actually, it's 20 minutes of our time, which is very efficient. Producer James puts in a couple of hours making it perfect, mostly editing your stuff. And my stuff's generally fine, none taken. And then, puts this onto YouTube, and we've got a piece of content that will last years on YouTube.
I say my stuff is fine, which we were talking about in last week's podcast. Evergreen content.
Exactly that. So this is actually a very, very good use of, as the business owner, of my time. Whereas later on today, because we're nearing the end of the calendar month as we record this, and I've got to just have a little Zoom with my bookkeepery people and talk about missing invoices and cash flow forecasts.
Sounds fun.
Oh my! It's only going to be a 10-minute call, and it's important because I need the information so that I sleep well at night.
Yeah.
But that's working in the business. That doesn't grow the business to pay the invoices and to check that they're always nagging me about missing invoices, which is always down to me. Anyway, that the more, I don't imagine Elon Musk spends a huge amount of time checking whether or not they've paid the steel supplier at Tesla. I'm sure that someone else is in charge of that. Whereas what he does is he invests his time. In fact, he's very good at big picture and detail. If you read anything about Elon Musk, as an example, because I think he's just the most inspirational human on the planet right now, whatever his politics and whatever he does with Twitter, because we are recording this 10 days before this goes out. So, well, a bit more, actually. Goodness knows what will happen by the time this is broadcast. But he's got these incredible big picture things. He has pretty much single-handedly driven the planet into genuinely, seriously available electric vehicles. Whereas 20 years ago, it was a bit of a pipe dream. He genuinely has revolutionized cheap travel into space. I'm not quite sure about the whole tunneling underneath LA thing and the flamethrower thing. That's a bit of a flyaway.
Look, but you can't have it all, right?
Exactly right.
So those ideas aren't going to pan out.
Exactly. I think revolutionising the planet's transport and getting us off the planet, that's not bad for one lifetime.
It's okay.
But he's good at the big picture stuff, but like when Tesla was really struggling with production, he was physically sleeping on the factory floor so that he could be up at like 4 or 5 a.m. when the technicians came in, and he was there, getting into the details of it. When he launched the space company, he spent a few weeks literally teaching himself how to be a rocket scientist. And obviously he is more intelligent than you and me twice put together. But he, none taken. But he, my point being, he still has the same amount of time, and far too many business owners squander time on stuff that doesn't matter. And why do we do it? Because we think it is the right thing to do. I would say that both the curse and what's the opposite of a curse? The
blessing?
Curse and the blessing.
You obviously don't get enough of those. You just get more of the curses.
No, I don't. Just the curses. That's just from Tinder. The curse and the blessing of the business owner is full 100% control over what we do with our time. And I haven't had a boss since 2005.
Which is why you're out of control. control.
It is why my ego's out of control. It's also why I could fire you at any point, which, again, because I'm sure I fired you in the past when we worked together.
No, you never did. You quit on me, as I recall.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I left. I abandoned you.
Your replacement fired me. That's genuinely true.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Brilliant. I didn't know that. That does make me laugh. He was, to be honest, I probably just wrote it in a handover. P.S. Jobs to do. Fire Sophie.
So I've been trying to work up the nerve for 5 years and I haven't managed it yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so I forgot what was I talking about there. Oh, yes. The curse and the blessing of the business owner is we've got control. So there is no one to be accountable to. The only person to be accountable to is your family because you're not bringing enough money into the house. And actually, most business owners get that sorted relatively quickly. And then, if I set us off down the route of a massive project and we get 3 months down the line and it's the wrong thing, there's no consequence for me other than we've wasted 3 months and, I've lost a period of time. Whereas like my friend Becky, who works for a big company, she's just spent 12 months on a project which was cancelled at the board level. She literally, it's like there's a whole line of managers who are now licking their wounds because there's like 20 or 30 people who've invested a year of their life into an entire project which the board decided wasn't viable because they didn't do it right. Can you imagine how damaging that would be?
Soul-crushing.
Not just soul crushing as well as career crushing as well, and that doesn't happen to business owners. So I think it all starts with tracking your time, and I obsessively track my time. I know this week I haven't worked particularly. I haven't worked my normal hours. I've done 22 hours so far this week. It's a Friday morning as we record this. Normally by this time of the week I'm on 33, 34 hours. So I feel like I've slacked a bit this week. But actually I've invested some of that time into life stuff. Rather than work stuff. And the point is, I know how much time I've spent on the business and versus in the business, and it's getting that balance right, but every single week so that you max out your own personal time.
Well, I think we can definitely say that episode 136 of Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast is where we identified Elon Musk's biggest fanboy. So that's something to take away. Other things from the podcast this week: identifying opportunities. There's also some good stuff on cybersecurity. You can go and check that out anywhere you download and listen to your podcast. Just search for Paul Green's MSP Marketing, and we will be back with another episode of Another Byte next week.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Podcast.
Another Byte.